Hey y'all, it's Leah. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to those of you who are new and just joining us for the Let's Go Steampunk collaboration. I am super excited to have been invited from Sherls Crafts to join her in this fun collaboration. I love steampunk. I read a lot of steampunk, and I've done just a few things for steampunk, but I haven't made a full journal, but I will now. So running through May 23rd through June 7th, we are doing this Let's Go Steampunk collab. So there are going to be 2 masterful tinkers each day that are going to be using 2 different kits that Cheryl has. So one is a gothic steampunk. That's the one I'm doing because it is purple based, and y'all know I love purple. And the other is more of a pastel. And so let me show you the very cool kits that she has available. So this is the purple, the gothic steampunk. Isn't that gorgeous? She has 40 pages, and they are available in US letter size as well as A4. And so there's the paper bundle, and then there is the ephemera bundle, and that one has 36 pages to that, and they are just beautiful. And then she also has this dreamy steampunk dream paper bundle, so it's very pastel looking but still has a lot of the steampunk elements. And so this is, again, she has the paper bundle and then the ephemera bundle. Okay, so the link to our collaboration schedule and the digital kits that we are using and the freebies are available on the link tree that is in my description box. So make sure you check that out. These are some of the freebies she has available on her Ko-fi channel. And so there's one for the gothic kit and one for the steampunk kit. So even if you just want to kind of try it out a little bit, these would be great to get. Okay, so the digital kits are on sale for 30% off until 1 week after the collaboration ends. So that'll be in that second week of June, so through June 14th. We do encourage you to support all of the other masterful tinkers. So we've got all of these amazing people. So hopefully you will subscribe to our individual YouTube channels if you're not already subscribed. If you leave a comment on each of the videos in the whole Steampunk, Let's Go Steampunk collaboration, and you subscribe to our channels, you will have a chance to win over 30 fantastic prizes. And I'm also going to do some prizes for people that comment on my channel. So I'll do some little prize packs for people. I'll do a drawing. I'm going to do 2 videos, so I'll do 1 prize pack for each video. So make sure you leave some comments on there. Sherls will be picking and announcing the lucky winners on her channel 2 weeks after the collaboration wraps up. And then we hope that you will share your own steampunk collab or creations on your social media and use the hashtag Let's Go Steampunk. Okay, so my first prompt was Outta time trinkets. So we each had a prompt, and then we're each day there's going to be 2 creators. So one's going to use the gothic kit and one is going to use the pastel kit. So I'm using the gothic. Etta J is going to use the pastel. So make sure you check out what she does using that same prompt. Okay, and so what I decided to do was make these fun little specimen tags. So the out of time trinkets are kind of like the anachronistic things that would exist in the steampunk world. So they're just sort of out of time. So we have these like fanciful goggles, we have this mechanical owl, and then I'll show you some of the other things that you have to choose from. So what I did for this one is I am going to use the B4 page, and it's this beautiful background paper, and that's going to form the basis of my specimen card. And then I printed off a bunch of different little pieces that she has in the kit. So I really thought about doing this one, kind of like goggles with the hat. But then there's also there's like this telescope and this lantern that you can do. But I settled on the steamship because I really think that is kind of the epitome of steampunk. And so that's the one I am going to use for this. Okay, so the picture that you use is really going to determine the size of your specimen card, because you can see like I have two different sizes for this one. This one is kind of going more horizontal. This one I needed more of a square space. This one for the steamship, I'm going to need more of a square space. So that's really, the sizes don't really matter. It depends on what you are using as your focal point piece. Like if I was going to use one of these, it's going to be a smaller specimen card, whereas with this one, it's going to be a little bit larger. Okay, so what I do when I'm trying to figure out how to cut my paper is I kind of lay my focal point on the paper, and usually with the specimen card you have kind of a thinner side, and your tops can be either thinner or wider. It just depends. Like on this one I did a thinner top with more of a wider bottom, and then this one I did, this one's still a little bit wider. Okay, because usually you have at the bottom, you have some tags or some labels, some printing that kind of says what the specimen is, or in this case, I used some of her little washi tape pieces to add a little interest to that. So I kind of just eyeball it. If you watch my channel, I don't do a ton of measuring if I don't have to. I'm just kind of a wing it kind of girl. My life is usually very regimented. I'm a teacher, and so I'm used to having like a schedule and things done just so. But when it comes to crafting, I just like to kind of be willy-nilly and kind of free in that. So I just kind of figure out how I want to lay it out. And so I know I'm going to cut my paper that ends up being about 2.5 inches is what I ended up doing. So I end up with a piece that looks like this, and it is, so actually I take that back. It's 3.5 inches. And so I've got that. And then what I do is I double the size of my width. So my height is going to be 7 inches. And so that's just kind of my rule of thumb, is to double whatever your width is to make your height. And so when I put that on there, I feel like that's going to make a pretty decent size, okay, for that. So once you cut that out, you are going to fold it in half. You can score it. I didn't happen to score it on this one, but you totally can. You just want to make sure you have a good crease. And then I take my little corner rounder and I use the smallest piece, and I just round those corners on the top as well as the bottom two corners, because that way it makes, it's got the little indentions here, but you just want to make sure that you've got your rounded corners when it is folded. Okay, so then to make my inside, you want to still make sure it's folded. You can use a little washi tape if you want to secure that down while you're doing your cutting. And then I just take my craft knife and I am going to cut out a square. Now, if you have a die cut machine and you have some square dies, you can totally use that. If you have a square punch or a rectangle punch, that would work. It just totally depends on you. And again, I just eyeballed it. If you want to be super precise, because I know some people are super precise in their crafting, you can definitely measure out. how wide you want it to be and where your cut marks are going to be. I would suggest maybe doing that on the inside, so folding it this way and then doing your measurements since it's on a white piece and easier to see, and then cutting from there, cutting from that side. But it is totally up to you how you do that. So once I cut it out, so I cut out my square. Okay, so I've got that. And then now I need some acetate. I need something that's going to be my clear piece. So you can get packs of acetate. Like I got this one from scrapbook.com. I also, because I was a teacher, I still have tons of transparency sheets from old school when we were still using our overhead projectors. So I have that. You can also use the plastic packaging from the different craft supplies that you buy. So you know it usually comes in some kind of plastic, or if somebody mailed you something that came in plastic, you can use that. Anything that is going to be clear. Okay, and so you are just going to cut that wider than your opening on here, and then you're going to glue that down. And because you're not going to see your glue, you can use any kind of glue. So art glitter glue is usually my go-to for things like this if I'm not going to see it. So if I was going to see through the acetate, then I would use my 3-in-1 or the Fabri-Tac. They're basically the same thing from Beacon. I have found that does not show. It dries so clear that it does not show on acetate. So that's a good little thing to remember. But in this case, I am just going to put a small bead of glue around here and glue that one down on that. Okay, so you're going to glue your back side first, and that way you can put your image on there. Okay, and so I actually have another one that is done. So this one is glued down. Okay, and so then I'm going to put my image on here. Now, if you are going to use this more as a floating specimen card, then by all means, you might want to either print 2 of the same picture or a different picture on the back and glue those together, and then you can just kind of mush them in between the pieces, and then that way you don't have that white side showing on the back, because I've got this. But I think in this case, this would just go flat in a journal for me. That's how I'm going to do that. So now I need to grab, and I just realized I glued it to this one. Peel this off. So now I'm going to glue. Got a little ahead of myself. I'm going to glue that on here. And because I messed up, it's going to show a little bit, but that is okay. It's just paper. That is my motto. So then you need to glue this closed. So you're going to add a little more glue around there. And then close that up. Sorry, that's a little messy. It will dry fairly clear on there. Okay. And so then you're going to make your little notches because most specimen cards have some kind of notches. So you have options for this. I happen to have a little rectangle punch. And so what I do is I kind of put it halfway in there and then do my punches. On this one, I wanted my punches to be a little bit wider, and so I actually punched once and then moved it over slightly and punched again. So you can totally do that, and I'm going to do that on this one. I'm going to add some punches on here. And again, I am just sort of winging it, so I end up with that little piece, and you can just pull that off. And so I'm gonna do that side, and sometimes you gotta kind of just play with it a little bit. And then this one is a little bit shorter. Just kind of even that up a little bit. Okay, so now I've got my little notches, and then you are going to embellish it however you want. So what I did was I printed off the smaller washi tapes, and I did it in portrait style to make them even smaller, because I knew I needed some tiny pieces of washi tape for this project. And so I cut those out, and I've got these two little pieces, and so I'm gonna put one of them on the bottom. Now, depending on what paper you're using, you can, if you've got some like specimen card stamps, if you got some dates or some names or things, you could definitely do some stamping on here. I just decided to use the washi because I really liked that. This one, I'm just gonna do just that little bit there, and then I will cut that piece off. Now you can add as much washi as you want, just to kind of fill up your spaces. And then the last thing you're gonna do is add some brad. So you're gonna punch some little holes. I have a little paper punch that you can use for that. If you don't have one of those, if you just have a pokey tool, you can just kind of make a little hole with that. And so then you just pop in your brads. And sometimes they're a little difficult to go through the transparency. There we go. And then just fold those back. And I'm not going to do all four of those, but basically you are going to end up with your cool specimen tags. One thing I forgot to say, if you don't have kind of that square punch, you can also use just a round, irregular hole punch. Sorry, I'm forgetting words, and do rounded little notches. That's totally fine. Or you can just freehand it, and you can just use your scissors and go in and kind of cut your pieces. You could use your craft knife and cut some little rectangles out of there. Lots of options for that. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed making these specimen slides with me. I hope you make some. And again, please check out our Masterful Tinkers running through May 23rd through June 7th. Subscribe to our channels. You have a chance to win lots of prizes. There's over 30 prizes that Sherls is going to be giving out. And again, if you leave comments on mine, I'm going to do separate drawings. So I will do one for this video, and then I have another video coming up on June 7th or June 2nd, where I am going to be doing the intricate gear ingenuity. So I'm going to do a different project with some gears on that one. So definitely check that one out, and check out all of our other Masterful Tinkerers. All right, remember, let's go steampunk. Bye, y'all.